All right, let's talk about something you've probably seen a million times, but maybe never really dug into. Those four letters, GDPR. You see them in every cookie banner, every privacy policy. But what are they really about? Well, it turns out it's one of the most important rules of our digital world. And yeah, it has everything to do with you.
So let's just start with this question. I mean, think about it. You click, you shop, you share. You're constantly leaving this trail of digital breadcrumbs behind. But have you ever really stopped and asked yourself, who's actually in charge of all that information? Who gets the final say? For a long, long time, that answer was, well, not you.
Okay, so to really get why GDPR was such a big deal, we have to rewind and look at what things were like before. And honestly, it was kind of the Wild West out there for our data. Your information was being scooped up, passed around, and used in all sorts of ways with very, very few consistent rules to protect you.
And you can see right here how it all happened. The original rules from way back in 1995, they were built for a dial-up world, not the internet we have today. Then, boom, the 2000s hit. We get cloud computing, social media, and suddenly our data is zipping across the globe. By the 2010s, it felt like we were hearing about a new, massive data breach every other week. It was so obvious that the old patchwork laws just couldn't keep up. Something big had to be done. And that something big was GDPR. It was the answer designed to bring some order to all that chaos. So here's the official definition. The General Data Protection Regulation. It kicked into full effect on May 25th, 2018. And you got to focus on its main goal. It was designed from the ground up to flip the script, to give regular people, us, real, actual control over our own personal data. And it had a really clear mission. Four key things. 1, protect the personal data of everybody in the EU, no matter where in the world that data ends up. 2, get rid of the messy patchwork of different country laws and create one single harmonized rulebook for everyone. 3, give individuals like us way stronger rights. And 4, and this one is huge, make companies truly accountable for how they handle our information. Now, to really get how this works, you need to know about two main players. First, you've got the data controller. This is the company calling the shots. They're the ones who decide why they need your data and how they're going to use it. So, think about an online store you buy from. They are the controller. But then, you also have the data processor. This is often a different company that just handles the data for the controller, like the cloud service that hosts their website. And here's the key. GDPR says they are both responsible for keeping your data safe. All right, now for the best part. This is where GDPR stops being about companies and starts being about you. Let's talk about the rights this law actually gives you. I love this framing because it's so true. Before GDPR, your rights were kind of fuzzy, hard to find, and even harder to use. GDPR changed all that. It handed you a toolkit of clear, legally backed powers. These aren't just polite suggestions, these are your rights. Superpower number 1, the right of access. This is huge. It means you can go to literally any organization and say, hey, show me everything you've got on me. And they have to do it. They have to give you a full copy of all your personal data. No more wondering what they're hiding in their server. Then there's the one you've probably heard of, the right to be forgotten. This is your digital reset button. If a company has your data, but they don't have a good legal reason to keep it anymore, maybe you closed your account years ago, you can tell them, you need to delete my data, and they have to comply. And check this one out, the right to data portability. This gives you freedom. It means you can take all your data from one service, let's say all your playlists from a music app, and easily move it over to a competitor. It stops companies from trapping you in their system just because they have all your stuff. So, with all these new powers for us, you can imagine that companies had to seriously change the way they do business. Let's look at the new rulebook from their perspective. Yeah, the game totally changed for them. Now, companies have to build privacy by design. That means they can't just tack on privacy features at the end. It has to be baked in from the very start. They also need a lawful basis, a really good legal reason for every single thing they do with your data. And maybe the biggest shift of all, they can't just say they're following the rules. They have to be ready to prove it at a moment's notice. And then there's this number, 72. If a company has a serious data breach, they have a maximum of 72 hours to report it to the authorities. That's it. This rule basically ended the whole practice of companies getting hacked and then trying to sweep it under the rug for months. So, you might be wondering, What happens if a company doesn't play by these new rules? Well, this is where GDPR gets its teeth. For the most serious violations, we're talking about fines up to 20 million euros. That's a number that's going to get anyone's attention, no matter how big the company is. But wait, it gets even bigger because there's another level. The fine can also be 4% of a company's total global revenue from the previous year. For the big tech giants, that can mean billions, billions with a B. The idea was to make the penalties so painful that data privacy would become a top priority in the boardroom, not just some problem for the IT department to deal with. And believe me, these are not empty threats. Regulators have absolutely used these powers. Look at this. Google got hit for not being clear about how they got consent. British Airways and Marriott got slapped with massive fines because they failed to protect their customers' data from being stolen. The message is clear. These rules are for real. And the impact has been incredible. The ripple effect went way beyond Europe. GDPR basically set a new gold standard for privacy around the entire world. We've seen countries like Brazil, India, and others create their own similar laws. It forced companies everywhere to step up their game. So when you boil it all down, GDPR was a fundamental shift. It redrew the map of the digital world, and it put power back where it belongs, with us, the individual. And that really leaves us all with one final, pretty important question to think about. Now that you know what your digital rights are, what are you going to do with them?